self-taught, coding boot camps, CS degree. I know when I first started learning how to code, I was overloaded with information. It was like drinking from a fire hose, just trying to figure out which path to take, let alone which tech stack. And it got me thinking, like, why is it so difficult to find a learning path when you're trying to learn how to code? There's so many different options. And when you get into another field, like being a doctor, being a lawyer, social work, all these other paths, they're very clear. Like, this is what you do. There's not a whole bunch of different ways to achieve what you want. Networking and a college degree are usually the best ones, or they have specific certificates for you to get to be in whatever career field. But when you switch to learning how to code, it becomes so much more difficult. And so far, I have already chosen two of the paths, of the three paths that I know of when learning how to code. My first year and a half was all self-study, using free code camp, a little bit of networking, tutorials on Udemy, all these different things. And then I found myself in a position that I was able to go to a boot camp, and I've done that as well. Although I'm pretty against it, I find myself looking like, would I do a CS degree? Would I go ahead and try all three paths when trying to get a job in development? And I'm pretty against college, so I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. But also, you never know. I'm not stuck in my ways. But working through these two different paths and knowing that there's another one in order to break into tech as a software developer started making me think about my healthcare journey. And that was very laid out for me, right? Like, you go and get this certificate, you work on this degree, you build a network with these people. And the path was clear, like it was laid out. And although there was some different variations due to who you know or what you can invest in, right? Because that's the journey everywhere. There wasn't a whole lot of different paths. It was pretty clear what you can do, how far you can go, things like that. And breaking into tech has been different. It's been a whole different experience. And it just got me thinking, like, why is it so different? Why is there so much free information on learning how to code, yet it's so difficult to learn how to code? And not so much to learn how to code, but like to learn like what path to take. But there's all kinds of information. Like, you can go do full boot camps for free. So we have an abundance of information. It's really cool that for development, you have lots of different paths, which is really cool. You can do self-study, boot camp, CS degree. Those things are all really cool to have because a lot of other careers do not have that stuff. So it is really cool to have, but on the other side is really difficult because you don't know which one to pick. So for me, I've chosen to go in the order of expense. So I spent the first year and a half learning how to code on my own, free code camp, a little bit of networking, Udemy tutorials, things like that. And then when I was able to, because I didn't secure employment, I decided to go to a boot camp. And then I learned a lot more through the boot camp, but more than anything, I built a lot of new connections. And I think that's the biggest things with the schools, or you can get all the information for free, but the networks are what you're really paying for. And I've said that before, and I really do believe that, even with the boot camp, although having that structured learning is nice. But what I figured out is that I've learned a lot of this stuff on my own through self-study with like free code camp, Udemy, YouTube tutorials, things like that. But I just say all that because it's like one of those things that's a double-edged sword. Like, we're lucky to have it, but also it's really difficult and it's overwhelming when you're first learning how to code. And I can't find a whole lot of things that offer that bridge, right, between self-study, but also boot camp or a degree. And I've actually been talking to somebody that supports this channel very much. He has a company called Pre-Code Camp. And I think that's what he's working on now. We have been talking about this a lot, about a bridge from being self-taught and going to a boot camp, something that's like in between. It's not as much of a financial investment, but it's also not free because you get mentors and things like that. A lot of us need more than just some like unstructured self-learning. And that's what leads me to think that there needs to be another option, and to make things even more confusing. But I don't know. It's just something I've been thinking about a lot, of what could be that connection in between, because CS degrees are very time, and it's a very big time investment as well, financial. Boot camps are a pretty good financial investment, and I would say time too. But a lot of people do self-study, and a lot of people need a little bit more than self-study, but maybe not so much as a boot camp. And there just needs to be that in-between. Certificates. Learning which path to choose when learning the code has proven to be very difficult, and I know I'm not the only one that goes through that. So far, my journey has looked like self-taught to boot camp, building connections, but we all know that networking is probably the most important thing, because we've seen people get jobs as a developer only knowing a little bit of HTML and CSS, but they knew the right people, right? They made the right people smile and the right people liked them, and it made it work. So I think networking is probably the biggest thing to work on when finding a job. Keep learning, keep working at it, whichever path you choose, but network the whole time. That's the key. And I bring all this up and I still don't answer my own question. Why is there so many different paths to learning how to code and getting a job as a developer? Why is it so broad, so many different ways? Because it's a gift and a curse. And I'm just curious, like, what is your thoughts on why there are so many different paths to becoming a developer? Because I don't know why. I don't understand why it's like that for this field, but not other fields, because I don't know of any other field that's similar to this. So many different ways to learn or get into the field that you want to get into. Let me know what you think in the comments. What are your thoughts about why are there so many different paths to development? Later.